Hey bakers, Dave here. Guess what? I took Vito Iacopelli's pizza masterclass. Stay tuned after the bump to find out what happened when I made my first Neapolitan pizza with Vito's recipe. First things first, who is Vito Iacopelli? Vito is a master pizzaiolo from Bari, Italy, and he grew up in his family's pizza restaurant and trained as a third-generation pizza chef alongside his parents. After Vito moved to the USA, he quickly earned numerous awards for his pizza and opened several restaurants. He also runs the very popular Vito Iacopelli YouTube channel and has already gained about 500,000 subscribers with no signs of slowing down. So when I wanted to try and up my pizza making game, of course I took his class, and today we're going to see what happened when I made my first Vito Iacopelli Neapolitan pizza recipe. This recipe makes about 5 pizzas. For the Poolish, we need 400 grams of 00 flour, 400 grams of water, 6 grams of honey, 2 grams of dry yeast. And for the dough, we need 350 grams of 00 flour, 350 grams of water, 22 grams of salt, 20 grams of extra virgin olive oil. And lastly, the sauce. 1 28-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes, San Marzano, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 teaspoons of salt, and if you want to, add a half a teaspoon or so of dried oregano. Lastly, fresh basil leaves. Alright, let's get started with the Poolish. To make the Poolish, I grabbed a container and poured in the water. Then I added the yeast and honey and mixed it all together until it was cloudy. Then I added the flour until it was a bit soupy. I covered with the lid and put it in the fridge. For the sauce, unfortunately the store was out of San Marzano tomatoes and I grabbed the closest thing they had. I opened the can and poured the tomatoes into a mixing bowl and crushed them using my hands. I added the olive oil, salt, oregano, and basil and mixed it all together. Covered the container with a lid and set it aside until I needed it. One quick note, I'm going to do a more in-depth how-to video later once I get enough practice and refine the process into something I can call my own. This is Vito's process, and this video will show some of my ups and downs as I learn how to do it like he does. Okay, it's baking day, and I had to get the dough ready. I got the Poolish out of the fridge and added the water, oil, and salt into the mixture. Then I slowly added the flour and kept mixing as I went. Once it was all mixed together, I dumped the dough onto the counter to start the pre-shaping. This is where trouble ensued. Because I was not used to doing dough this way, I forgot an important tip of Vito's here. As you can see, the dough is really sticky. I kept adding some flour as I went in order to get it into shape, but there's a trick for this. Let's call it Vito's tip. Basically, if the dough is really sticky like this when dumping it on the counter, just leave it on the counter and cover it with a mixing bowl for 15 minutes and let it rest. Then go into pre-shaping and the dough will be much easier to work with. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Eventually, I got the dough into a large smooth ball and covered it with plastic wrap for 15 minutes as Vito said to do. After 15 minutes, I shaped it back into a big ball, covered it again, and let it rest for another hour. My learning process made it look worse than it was. The dough turned out quite well. In fact, you'll see that when I go into shaping the balls next. Before we continue, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons. That lets me know you like what I'm doing and to keep doing it. Also, please share the video and leave a comment down below for me, particularly if you have any questions. Thanks. The dough is ready to shape into pizza balls. Following Vito's masterclass techniques, I created the balls at about 260 to 280 grams in weight each and smoothed them out as instructed. I then took several floured containers to place the pizza balls in for proofing. I wanted to split them up because I was planning on putting a couple of them in the freezer for later, and that was just easier for me. Once the dough balls were in their containers, I let them rest on the counter for about 2 hours for the proofing. I preheated the oven on the broil setting at 500 degrees for about an hour while the dough was finishing proofing. And here things got even more interesting. Normally I do some dough flipping when I stretch the dough, but Vito has a clap technique that I thought was important to learn. As you can see, it wasn't too bad, but I did struggle with it a bit on the first pizza. Fortunately, I was making 2 pizzas and things went a bit better on the second one. As for making the pizzas themselves, it was fairly straightforward. Add the sauce and the fresh mozzarella. I happen to have some in pearl size already, which meant I didn't have to cut it before adding it to the pizza. I used Vito's technique to get it on the pizza shovel, which I always struggled with in the past, and it went well this time comparatively. Lastly, the fresh basil. It wouldn't be a margarita pizza without it. I baked the pizzas for about 5 minutes or so each, and they came out great. Let's have a look. The only two things I noticed that were a bit different from Vito's was that I didn't get enough air into the crust like he does, but I did get air into it. And my main home oven kinda sucks, and the bottom of the crust needed about another minute or so to finish browning up, but it still did well. Seriously, I ate them both crazy fast because they were so good. There's one other thing I struggled with for Vito's pizza recipe. I also had intended to use the smaller dough ball for Italian bread. I had the added bonus of completely forgetting about that while making the pizzas. I had to pivot quickly and squeeze it in while making the pizzas. As you can see when I was shaping it, I forgot that I only needed to roll it into a log shape, then proof and bake. However, since I already proofed the dough, I got it into shape, but more like a sourdough because I was scrambling to add this in and did it wrong. Fortunately, it baked really well too, and I gobbled it up with the pizza. Okay, Vito is truly a master, and I've eaten at his restaurant Provami up in Los Angeles before I even found his YouTube channel. If you'd like to check out his channel or his masterclass, I posted the links down below in the description. Thanks for upping my game, Vito. I look forward to many more pizzas to come and that focaccia recipe of yours too. Take care, everyone.